All right, Scott. Looks like we're live, so we're going to give it just a few minutes. We've got several people I know that were wanting to watch the show tonight, or this
All right.
afternoon, I should say. And then we'll get to talking about our topic today. So
Sounds good. I
we
got my
thought,
glasses, so I'm not
I know.
squinting today.
Yeah, I'd start taking those out in the field. I need to get some more as well. So
Yeah.
all right. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about entry level detectors, and we don't have anybody on right yet, but they'll be in here in a minute. We had a lot of people said that they wanted to watch this live cast.
Well,
So
let's give them a minute to get in.
yeah, so we got 10 people in here, so we'll start talking about it.
Okay.
So today we're going to talk about something that we covered one time. We did a three-part series, I think, Scott, on our
We did.
podcast back in the day years ago. So I thought it'd be a good time. So many things have changed since that time. So I thought we would just revisit the topic. We get a lot of people asking about detectors and what should they get for their first detector, especially since they've been watching our videos. So that's I see that question almost every day. A lot of people
Right.
don't know that we actually sell detectors too. So if you guys want to help support the channel, you can call us, and then two, you get access to phone support. You can call me direct, and I'll be glad to help you with it when you get your detector from us. So basically want to start out by talking a little bit about all of that and where people should start budget wise. A lot of people want to start out with a $100 or $200 detector, and you can, but the problem really comes in, Scott, and you've seen this too, is some of those cheaper detectors really can be frustrating, and they end up going in the closet, never to be used again. When you first started out, did you experience any of that? What was your first detector, Scott?
Well, I have a long, complicated history with detectors. So my first detector was too much for me.
Yeah,
I got it whenever before I met you, when I lived in Savannah, and it was a Tesoro tiger shark.
yeah,
And I got it because I dove a lot back then, and I thought, hey, I'll get a waterproof detector and detect, right?
hmm
I managed to find a few things with it, but it was too much. It wasn't user friendly. It was mostly, there was no VDI. It was all audio and all that. I didn't know what I
yeah,
was doing. So then, fast forward to right before I met you, I got an Ace 250, I think it was,
yeah.
and and it worked well. I found a couple things with it, but I
Mm.
immediately wanted something else, and so I progressed from that to the AT Pro.
Yeah, and that's one thing you covered. Man, you covered a lot of things that we're going to hit on in this interview today too. Actually, is finding something that's good enough that you're going to enjoy it. Is not going to be frustrating, but simple enough that it's not just overwhelming to you. And
Right,
but something that you're not going to outgrow and need in 6 months. You need to upgrade in 6 months. So one of the things that I would caution people a lot about, and the customers that call me, is trying to find that balance. And every metal detector is not the same. So one of the things that I ask people when they're wanting to start is, how much is your budget? That's a big factor, because if you want something that's going to go down to the depths that we get to, is not you're not going to get that for $200 or $300. So that's the first thing. Decide how much you can spend on a metal detector. The next
right.
is your soil, where you are. If it's clay, if it's sandy soil, up in the Northeast, they have a lot of neutral soil up there. So all those come into play, and then find out what you want to go for the most. If you want to pretty much just hunt the beach, especially a saltwater beach, what you need is going to be vastly different from somebody hunting in parks, or especially relic hunting. It could be vastly different. Now, there are some detectors that will cover a lot of those, but again, that depends on your budget. So what we were going to do today is talk about some of those different options, and we will be taking questions. I can't monitor the chat for some reason today, and I don't know why. We're going to try to fix that. So Kelly is going to hopefully cover some of that for us in the chat. So guys, just bear with us. We'll try to get the chat pulled up here in just a second. Actually, there it is. I finally figured it out. We're new to the live streaming, guys, so just bear with us.
Well, if there's people in here, I'm putting my mask on.
Well, that could be it, and that is slightly distracting. But so what we're going to do, we're going to cover some of these topics, guys, and be thinking when we're talking about some of your questions, because towards the end we will cover some things more in depth if you have questions on them and that sort of thing. So basically what I recommend for everybody starting out is if they want to have a decent detector that's not going to be super frustrating and it's going to be something that actually will work for them, is start out a minimum budget of about $279. Anything less than that, it's kind of a kid's toy, and it can be just frustrating. It ends up in the closet. Now, we talked about not starting so basic that you need to upgrade in 6 months. As you get more towards the mid-range detectors, something that can grow with you, I usually recommend that for somebody that knows they're going to like the hobby, that's not just experimenting or just testing the water. In that $500 to about $1,000 range is considered mid-range detectors, and it's actually what you guys see us use most of the time are mid-range detectors, like the Equinox 600 or 800, because it's something that you can grow with. Now, again, everybody can't just plop down $900, and I get that. So, that entry level in that or 279 to about 400 range is really good. What I recommend, Scott, is a lot of people try to get the best detector that they can for the money, even if that means they sacrifice getting a pinpointer for a month or two down the road. The reason for that is you can get a $125, $127 pinpointer a lot cheaper than you can afford to upgrade down the road. And while pinpointers are important, and there's a lot of package deals, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit too, that have those, you got to be careful. Some of those package deals, you sacrifice some performance. That's a lot of dealers, not unscrupulous, but they use it to fluff up the detector. They'll put a cheap pinpointer or something like that in there to justify charging you more money. So I recommend just trying to get the basic detector you can with the best you can for the money, and even if that means adding a pinpointer later. So what are your thoughts on that, Scott?
Oh, absolutely. Let's get one thing straight. I mean, pinpointers are great. I love the pinpointer, but people hunted for many, many years without pinpointers. So you can wait a couple of months on a pinpointer. You can scoop dirt out of the plug and wave it over your detector very easily and see if you see if you manage to get the target. It takes a little bit more work, but it's worth it, I think, to wait and get a good quality pinpointer, because I mean, heck, I've had even some of the good quality pinpointers have mishaps where I didn't screw the cap on tight enough or whatever, and they die or whatever, But these cheap ones are literally Chinese made junk in a lot of cases, and they aren't watertight. They break, they break easy, just like anything you buy at a store these days that's made overseas, and they just aren't made like they used to be. So it's worth waiting if you can do it.
And getting a good warranty. So that's what I recommend to people. We use a lot of MindLab products. Now, we sell all different brands: MindLab, Garrett, Fisher, all of them. But the Mind Lab, especially recently for the entry level, they released that new Vanquish series, and we used it in the Leonard Skin, or the second time we went to the Leonard Skinner site.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but from my experience, that has been the most user friendly entry level detector, that Vanquish 440 and 540. Performance and
Yeah.
value wise has been absolutely amazing. And it's something so
Yeah. I
easy,
don't know if you
literally can
remember,
turn
but
it on.
yeah, I don't know if you remember, but y'all handed me one of those at the Skinner site,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to work with it, and almost, it was a short while later, I found a control knob from the cockpit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean I had no experience with it. I just picked it up, started using it.
Right, right. Yeah, you're exactly right. And two, because it's multi-frequency, the ground balance issue isn't a big deal. And that's something I'm going to step back and talk about, the difference between single frequency machines and multi-frequency machines. The multi-frequency, like the Vanquish and the Equinox series by MindLab, it's shooting more than one frequency into the ground at the same time. So when you do that, different targets respond differently to different frequencies. For example, silver, responds better with the lower frequencies, and gold and lead and those type things respond better to the higher frequencies. So when you've got a machine shooting, like in the Vanquish's case, three different frequencies into the ground at the same time, you increase your likelihood of at least one of those frequencies responding better, and thus giving you a better identification of the target, and in some cases hitting targets that otherwise you may miss too.
That's
and,
right.
and when they came out with that Vanquish series, it was really a game changer, because never before had anybody came out with a detector sub, even $1,000 or $600 that had multi frequency. So normally you would have had to pay, you know, like I say, $600 all the way up to $2,500 for that technology.
Oh
And
yeah, multi-frequency, the target identification just, I mean, a lot of times you're going to dig most everything anyway, but it's nice to be able to really clearly um, filter through some of the stuff you don't want to dig.
yeah, that's exactly right. I see Matt from Gone Diggins in the channel, and he was mentioning the recovery speeds. Yeah, and with that detector, um, you don't have a per se ability to change the recovery speeds, but it's tied to the different modes of that detector. So that's a big deal. Uh, Jerry Smith is asking, are Garrett's any good? Yeah, I mean Garrett's are good. They're good. They're good entry
I
level
used to love
machines.
my Garrett.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Scott started out with. I will say this, Jerry, about the Garrett's. Um, the Ace series is very simple to use. You know, but if you're down south, sometimes the clay can really limit your depth, and that is the one thing. Again, depending on where you are. So they give a lot of bang for the buck. Now they do package, or at least right now they've got a special going with the Ace 400, the spring special, where you get the pinpointer with it. And I don't have my price list in front of me, but it's very reasonable. So, definitely something to look at. The Garretts are good. The Mind Labs are good. Those are probably, Garrett and Mind Lab are my two favorite entry to mid range detectors. Again, but I've had good luck with Fishers and stuff too. So it just depends on what you're doing with it. Depends on where you are. I see a lot of Equinox people in there, and that's something that we use. So let's see. I know there's more questions. What else am I missing, Scott? What do we need to talk about? Some people may want to know.
Well, they may want to know the different types of pinpointers.
Yep, different pinpointers. I do like the Garrett pinpointers. Unfortunately, my favorite pinpointer was the White's TRX, and they went out of business. That's the pinpointer that you see Scott and I and Kelly using a good bit. So it's unfortunate, but The other ones would be the Garretts, and we sell a lot of Garrett pinpointers. They've got a 2-year warranty. And if you can afford to get the pinpointer at the same time as your metal detector, highly recommend doing it. It can really step up your game and make things a lot less frustrating. So let's see what
Yeah,
else.
there used to be more of a choice, especially in particular, kind of basically. Well, I guess you still have MindLab pinpointers, and you still have the Deus now. I
Hmm.
think XP has a
Hmm.
pinpointer.
Hmm.
Of course, that's more pricey. That pairs. I mean, you use it independently, but it's paired with the XP Deus, which is a more pricey machine. But
Yeah. And they do, and Garrett actually makes an AT Max that the pinpointer you can hear through the headphones. Again, now you're getting well above the $500 range,
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and that kind of, I guess that's a good segue kind of into the mid range detectors. If you can afford a mid range detector, that's your best bet because now they've made these detectors, even the mid range detectors, are so easy to use. It's not like you have to have a lot of experience to use it effectively. I mean, the Equinox 800, you can literally take it out of the box, or the 600, either one, and pretty much start detecting it and do very well with it. So that would definitely be something that somebody should consider if they know that they're going to like the hobby. Let's see. Let's
yeah.
check out some of the comments here. Uh,
I commend you with your ability to focus through my Bucky mask.
yeah, I have been. Well, I've been having to look at my own screen. So, all right. So Doug Boutwell just bought the Vanquish 540. He's in South Alabama. Is there anything you could recommend? Anywhere you can recommend starting out? I'm not sure. Are you talking about locations? That'll be another. If you're talking about research, we're going to do another podcast on that. It really just depends on what you're wanting to hunt for. Really, that Vanquish 540 is, in my opinion, probably the best entry level detector that you could possibly buy, though, because even if you don't get the pro package, even if you just get the regular package, I think they're $369 list price. And of course, if you get one, call us and be sure to mention that you watch our videos, and we can get you free shipping and take care of you on some stuff like that. But for $369. It's the best bang for the buck I think I've ever seen in an entry level detector. So Doug, you did well with that detector. We see a lot of people in here with the Equinox 800, and again, those are
Mhm.
more pricey. That's the upper end of the technically mid-range detectors. See, our mid-range detectors waterproof? Eric, great question. Some of them are. Most of the mid-range are now. The MindLab Equinox 600 and the 800 are both waterproof. The Garrett AT Pro and AT Max, both waterproof down to 10 feet. There's only one really entry level detector that is waterproof that I can think of right off, and that would be the Nocta Simplex. That's we get a lot of questions, and we sell a lot of those detectors. Good little detector for the money, but I would caution people. A lot of people, unless you just know, 100% know you're only interested in metal detecting in the water. When you're starting out metal detecting in the water can be frustrating even for somebody that's done it a lot. It's just a whole nother layer of things, and recovering targets and pinpointing can be very difficult. So most people that get waterproof detectors never even put them in the water. So that's something to think about. Decide if you really know that you need a waterproof detector, because you might could spend you know the same amount of money and get a better detector that's not waterproof, if that makes sense to you. I know that gets kind of kind of convoluted, but it really just depends on what you're doing. What do you think about that, Scott? I mean, you've tried water
I
detecting.
agree. You know my feelings on water detecting. So we haven't had a lot of luck water detecting, but sometimes you get caught in a heavy rain and you want to continue. I mean, I've even been at organized hunts where, even seated hunts before where it
Mm-hmm.
was, I mean, it seems like rain's attracted to those events. So it would be pouring down rain all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened to have a waterproof machine. So I didn't worry about it. Just kept going. Just
Yeah.
got myself finished, but I didn't worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But now, even the ones that are not waterproof, most of them are rain resistant.
Most of them are pretty
I've
good.
never
Yeah.
killed even a non-waterproof detector, and you and I hunt in the
That's
pouring
right.
rain all the time.
Yeah,
Now,
for several years we used an XP Deus, which you look at
hmm
that thing and you think that thing is there's no way this is surviving a heavy rain, but we
mine
have
too.
drenched that thing in the rain and it was fine. So
Right. Mike Cavender is asking about shovels, MJ Cavender. And you guys may have seen Mike, and especially some of our older videos. Mike's a good friend of ours.
mhm.
We personally use the Predator Tools Piranha shovels. They're the best. I mean, they're, in my opinion, they're probably the best shovel. And Scott's actually backed over his Predator Tools Piranha
Yeah,
shovel.
with my truck and
Yeah.
yeah,
And you're still
it,
using it. So
yeah, it had no damage. Mike probably likes my mask,
I'm
right?
sure Mike does. So,
Yeah.
but now what I recommend to a lot of our entry level people that are just getting started for a shovel is, well, again, depending on what you're doing. If you're out in the woods, I usually recommend somebody that's just seeing if they like the hobby. Go to Lowe's or Home Depot, spend $10 on a shovel. If you're in the woods,
Unless, okay, so unless because I'll tell you what, I find I use this predator piranha in like yard work and everything else. So if you think that you can use a shovel uh, in outside of metal detecting, it might be worth getting one because I'm gonna tell you, you can't beat the
hmm
quality on those things
no, you're
at
right
all.
about that. You're absolutely right. But if you're in yards, really starting out with a hand tool, because these big
Mhm.
shovels are going to make nasty looking holes, and so a hand tool is probably your best bet starting out. Now, as you progress and decide you love the hobby, you're going to stay with it. Get a shovel appropriate for what you're doing. If you're relic hunting, the Predator Tools Piranha, which we do not sell, you have to get them directly from Predator Tools, or like an Eagle, one of the smaller shovels if you're going to be hunting yards. We have dug in
Yeah, they
yards
have.
before.
So they have like a lesh, a smaller
Mm-hmm.
hand tool, like you're talking about. Then they have, uh, we've gotten good enough with our piranhas to they're sharp and we can cut plugs with them in yards if we know the person well enough and they trust us with their yard. The thing is about shovels is that I think you can use any shovel to cut a proper plug and then set it back the way it should be and they can't tell that it's there. However, when when homeowners see these scary looking big shovels, they're thinking you're going to dig their
Yeah,
yard up, right?
and it
So
does
I have
take a lot of practice to not do that.
yeah, so if you're comfortable, if the landowner trusts you and everything, they're usually okay with it. But
Mm-hmm.
I have a shovel that's in between the hand tool and the piranha, which is it's got a small blade on it, but it's got a long handle, so I don't have to like get down on my knees or bend over. And they look out and see that, and they see this tiny little blade on it, and it's a lot less alarming to them.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. So Matt is asking a question. He's wanting to know about the Amazon detectors. I don't recommend them. I'll just be honest with you. There's a lot of Chinese knockoffs that look like quality detectors, but they don't perform the same. Some of these $100 and $200 detectors, I mean, I'm not telling you don't get it, but I don't think you're going to be very happy with it. They tend to be very frustrating. We actually did a test, and we're going to do a podcast on it. I think back years ago, we bought some of those, and the results were absolutely dismal. Some of them would barely even pick up a coin an inch or two deep. So, buyer beware. You get what you pay for. That's why we are recommending. bare minimum, start out with a good name brand detector. Even if you don't buy it from us, get a good name brand. Something like MindLab, Garrett, even the Nocta, Fisher, Technetics. Of course, White's is out of business now, but get you a name brand. If you know that you're in that price range, and that's absolutely you just know that you can't get more than that. Get a bounty hunter. That would be the bare minimum. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of bounty hunter, but
No, but I'll tell you what, we do have a friend that has done quite well with
yeah,
the bounty hunter.
yeah,
So
we have,
he
but it's a higher end bounty
he,
hunter.
he it is, but he
Yeah.
digs every single signal, and so he's not worried about
Hmm.
discrimination. He digs everything.
Yeah, you're going to dig a lot more trash with it, and you're not going to get the depth. And that's the main thing
Right,
is trying to maximize your time out there so that we dig trash too. And a lot of you guys probably see our videos and think we don't, but that's not the case. We just edit those out. Unless you
right.
guys tell us you want to start seeing them, but you're gonna dig trash. I don't care if you have a $2,500 detector, and you will see us with $2,500 detectors sometimes on the channel, and we dig trash with them too. Now you will dig less, and you have a
Yeah.
better idea of what the target is, but you will still dig trash.
The lower end of the
Mhm.
detector, the more trash you're going to dig,
Yeah,
thinking that it's something good.
yeah. So,
If that makes sense.
oh yeah. So moving along, William Gilmore, Bill, he's another guy. He's over in the Atlanta area. Good guy. We've detected with him before. So Bill was asking about the weight of the detector, and of course the same with the shovels. Weight is a factor. Now I will say this: most of the entry level detectors are fairly lightweight, at least now. Um,
Yeah.
the Vanquish is extremely lightweight, and pretty much all of the entry levels now are lightweight. The Ace series are lightweight, but as you move up to the mid range, weight starts becoming more of a factor, and really on the high end, it can be a factor. Some of the high end detectors can be fairly heavy actually.
Yeah.
So that good point, Bill, and that's also something. And I forgot. I actually had that in my notes, but I forgot to cover it. When you're buying a detector, that's why it's important to call a dealer like us, or even if you don't call us, whatever dealer you go to, ask them about the weight, especially if you have shoulder issues or any kind of anything that would limit you, back problems, something like that. That's a very important thing. And as far as weight on the shovels, it really depends on your shovel, Bill. So that's one of those things you almost have to test. I can tell you that the reason we use the Piranha that we use is because it's very strong but lightweight. So that's one thing that your Lowe's or Home Depot shovels, it's going to be a lot heavier. And Scott, you must have flipped your phone because you just went sideways on me, or we may have lost Scott actually. So we'll try to get Scott back on the line as soon as we can. But I'll answer a few more questions from you guys. Let's see. Hello from Canada. Hey, how are you guys doing? Mike Kavanagh brought up a good one about using or buying used detectors. Mike, that is an absolutely great question. It really depends. When you buy a used detector, just like buying a used car, you want to make sure that you're not buying somebody else's problems. So it's very important to ask them for the sales receipt and you know, see if they have that, and see when it was purchased. That way, if you're going to have a warranty or not. So that's a big one. Let's see. Kelly's got something. Cindy wants to know about the advantages of headphones, wired or wireless. Absolutely great question. I would definitely say to get headphones, whatever detector that you're using. We're gonna try to add Scott back in real quick. Hey Scott, welcome back. We lost you for a second, buddy.
Yeah, I think it's the internet. We got a storm rolling through.
Yeah, I'm looking out the window now, and it's looking good here too. So good thing I'm in a
Great
castle.
metal detecting weather.
Yeah, I know, right? So I was answering a question just before you got cut off. Cindy wanted to know about the advantages of headphones, wired or wireless.
Oh God, I could talk all day on that.
Oh, I
But
know.
see, we go. All right, so okay. So there's two things. One, if it's wireless, you have to worry about battery,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
But but if you're just going to be metal detecting in a yard and you're not tangling with vines and
Mm-hmm.
trees and all that sort of thing, it's fine. It
Right.
still is something hanging down and kind of getting in your way when you're trying to take your tool out to dig or whenever you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
go into your pouch or something like that. But wireless is critical when you're crawling around the woods. If you're like at an old
Mm-hmm.
home site in the woods, something like that, because the vines tend to just grab onto the cable and pull the things off your head. It pulls off my wireless headphones sometimes,
Yeah.
but it really pulls off the wired ones because the cable hanging down.
Yeah. Let's get into why you want to wear headphones, and I get that question a whole lot too. A lot of people don't realize that when you're, and you can use the speaker on the detector, but if you've got on headphones, you can hear signals that your ear might miss and probably would miss otherwise. And it's usually those deep, faint signals, so, and it's usually the really good stuff. So that's a major reason. And of course, if you're in parks, though, you want to use headphones because you don't want to disturb people. And that's even then, if you're getting permissions at people's houses to metal detect, that's a big deal too. So,
And if you need situational awareness, which I totally understand,
mm-hmm,
if you're in a park in a city or something like that, we just cock the headphones up on one side a little bit, and you can give your other ear a break and just kind of cock
yeah,
them up a little bit, and you hear both.
mm-hmm,
So
yeah. So good points. Chris Detbarn, he actually got his Equinox 800 from us. So good question, Chris and Cindy, both y'all. Let's see. Let's scroll down and see if we got some more questions coming up. So let's see. Type of battery to use for the detectors. Great question. Another question from Mike. It really depends. A lot of the
whatever I can
new
scrounge out of the back of my truck.
yeah, yeah. A lot of the detectors now are coming with rechargeable batteries, which is really nice, as long as you remember to charge it. So that's the key.
Right.
Now, the ones that you have to put in batteries, again, it depends on which one it is. Most of the manufacturers recommend not to use lithium batteries, and I've tried that in my pinpointer a couple times, and it made it go crazy. So do not use, even though they're the higher end batteries, don't use lithium. Get you a good quality, like an alkaline, Energizer or Duracell, something along those lines. I mean, there's some people that use some of the off brands. They don't have any problems. It's not going to hurt your detector. I just like the others because I feel like it lasts a little longer and it just seems to be a little more stable to me. But good question, Mike. Great question. Paul Anderson says he got all of his equipment from us. Paul, thanks, buddy. We appreciate it, man. That means a lot. And you guys that buy your detectors from me, that helps us keep the channel going because it costs, believe it or not, the software and everything that we use to edit the videos and the cameras. It's you wouldn't believe the cost. So if you guys buy from us, know that you are helping support History Seekers and keeping our videos coming too. So we do appreciate it. And be sure if you call us down there, I've got the number below. If you call us, be sure to mention that you are a viewer. And sometimes we have little special deals, and we can always get you free shipping and stuff like that. So all right. So, Scott, I know there's. Oh, great. There's another question. Let me catch this one real quick because that's something else we didn't talk about. Terry Waldrop's wanting to know the difference in size of coils, and that is a
Mm.
huge,
Uh,
huge issue when you're wanting to buy a detector. Most detectors come with the stock coil. Most of them these days are around 11-inch coils. The
Good
reason you would,
all-purpose coils.
yeah, kind of
Yeah.
an all around good coil. What I usually recommend for somebody, again, just experimenting to see if they want to detect or whatnot, is just use the stock coil. Just find you a cleaner area and use the stock coil. Now, the areas where you want a smaller coil is going to be high trash environments, some houses, especially like, we go out and look for houses that, from the 1800s that have been burned and there's no remnants. Those old house places will be just littered with nails, and your detector takes a certain amount of time when it hits a nail and before it can reset and hit another target. And so if you have 12 nails under your coil at one time and one small silver dime, there are a good chance that you will never hear that dime. And by having that smaller coil, that means you have less, or at least the less potential for a lot of nails under your coil at the same time, and thus increasing your likelihood that you may hear your target. It's called masking. It lessens the masking. Now, there is a trade off, though. You are going to cut into your depth. Depending on the detector you have and the size of coil, it is going to depend on how much you're going to cut into that depth. And the opposite is true with larger coils. Larger coils are made to go deeper, again, but you increase your potential of masking. So, great coil question. And some
Yeah,
people,
I'll tell you. We've used Heath. We've used those small coils in
mhm,
tight areas. Like there have been some places that we went in the woods that had lots of little bitty trees or bamboo or something like that growing up, and you just can't get a good swing with a big with the standard coil, you know.
mhm.
And sometimes you sacrifice a little bit of depth in order to get to cover more. You know, you can get in those little nooks and crannies that maybe other people haven't hit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Even places that are not that trashy. But then the
Right.
big coils, you can reach down and get to the stuff that people with a stock coil or a small coil couldn't hear too. So you really just that's one of those things that over time you're going to kind of develop a sense of what you need. And if you hit a site with a stock coil, go back and hit it with a small coil. I've seen a lot of sites that we know there's stuff there. It's just there's so much trash that you're just going to have to hit it from the right angle with the right coil to find it. So great question, Terry. Absolutely great question. Um, let's see. Kind of a little bit different topic here, Scott. Got Lamar Hamilton asking if we've ever found gold coins or gold nuggets while detecting. I have. Scott, you hadn't found a gold coin, have you?
I did. It was a rectangular bronze CSA plate.
Well, about the same, yeah.
Right. Not wrong.
Hmm. So yeah, so I have found one gold coin. They're exceedingly rare to find. I've done this 30
Well,
years and I found one.
they not only are they rare, but gold rings up kind of in the same zone
Hmm.
as a lot of trashy kind of like pull tabs and that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
I'm guilty of it, and I know Heath's guilty of it too. In some sites, especially the longer you metal detect, you hear something, you're like, "That's a pull tab,"
Yeah.
and you just skip over. I wonder how many. I wonder if we've skipped over gold before, Heath,
Oh, sure. I bet
in
we
some
have.
of these places, thinking that's a pull tab, and you're tired, it's hot, you're thirsty, you just skip over that signal because you're like, "That's a pull
Hmm.
tab."
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the curse of the gold is that it of course gold of all things is going to ring out, which is the most desirable thing that somebody can find. It's going to put itself right there in the VDI of all the stuff that you don't want to find.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, if they ever made a detector that could tell the difference between a gold ring and a pull tab, that
oh yeah.
company would put everybody else out of business. So,
Yeah, that's true.
something that I noticed with his question though that can tie back into the last question about the coil sizes. I have found a gold nugget. I can tell you, and we're actually
Yeah,
about to do a series about that. It's funny you should mention that. But you can actually find smaller targets a lot better with the small coil. They're more sensitive to small objects, especially gold. So that is another reason that you would want to use a small coil, especially if you're looking for nuggets, because they are hard to find. Where the same holds true that on the opposite side, the larger coils are more responsive to the large targets. Great question,
right.
Lamar. Thanks for asking. So there was something else I was going to cover with that, Scott, and I lost my train of thought. But
Well, I know one thing we haven't covered today
what's
that's
that?
getting started, and that's pouches,
Oh
digging
yeah,
pouches.
yeah. Good call. So a lot of people, and we use a brand that we get from Digging It Tees. It's called
Hmm.
the Omega Meals pouch, and they're really good. But what I recommend to a lot of the people in the entry level side, because they're trying to get the most detector for the money
Yeah,
and
they're
kind of get
squeezing
the
that money to get
accessories.
that detector.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what a lot of people do is use nail pouches that you can get
yeah,
at your local Home Depot, and they're usually leather and they hold up forever. Um,
yeah.
so that is a really good option for
That
somebody
works.
just getting in. Yeah. So let's see some more questions here. I know. Can you explain
Here's a tip
discrimination?
for you too. Here's a tip for you. Carry a container in your vehicle where you can go back and dump your pouch out and lighten the load every so often.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Cat litter
we
containers are great for
oh
that.
yeah,
Those plastic
cat litter
ones.
containers are great,
Yes, yes.
and
So,
you can close them up. They don't get in your truck or your car. But yeah, that stuff can start weighing you down after a while.
oh yeah, yeah. So, Joe Fagan is asking, can we explain the difference or discrimination and sensitivity? So, sensitivity, everybody thinks sensitivity makes the difference in depth. And while it can, the main thing is like if you lower the sensitivity on a detector, what you will hear is that target that may have been really strong, if it's deep, becomes really faint. So I actually recommend most people do not use maximum sensitivity, especially if you get in high trash areas. You know, I liken it to turning the high beams on in the fog, and that's essentially by running too much sensitivity. When you get in a heavy iron laden, a lot of nails, it's like turning your high beams on in the fog. So if you'll turn that sensitivity down, you'll actually hear some targets that you may otherwise have missed.
Yeah, I'll
And as
tell you
far,
something else too. And if you get close to power lines, overhead power
mm-hmm,
lines, and you start getting all that interference, you can
mm-hmm.
turn that sensitivity down and get a little closer to them and not
Oh
get
yeah,
all that noise.
yeah, yeah, that's one thing, definitely for sure. The other thing that he was asking was explaining discrimination. So, detectors have what's called discrimination, and it usually starts down in the lower iron range. Of course, you can notch too, and you can raise that discrimination level up. So, and the idea is to knock some of those targets, those bad targets, especially nails, out that you don't want to hear. Now, I will caution you at this: do not ever turn the discrimination up more than what you absolutely need, because it increases your chance of masking out a good target. It also, and a lot of people don't know this, the more discrimination that you use, you're really starting to cut into your depth. So, in an ideal world, and of course, this sometimes takes years of really using the detector and practicing with it, is to not use any discrimination at all. And when we're hunting for really deep shales, even though it's big iron and you're not going to discriminate it out anyway, um, it's going to get you the most depth. So if you can do it and maintain your sanity, turn all your discrimination down. But at
Yeah,
very minimal, just at least use just the bare minimum that you need to knock out, um, you know, the signals you don't want to hear. Um, Keeping in mind that like if you notch out a pull tab and discriminate that out, you're going to miss some of your gold rings, because there are a lot of signals that they have the same conductive value as other good stuff. So that's something to keep in mind. Great question,
Yeah,
Tim.
cuff buttons can come in pretty low on the old VDI too, so they can fall down into almost close to the pull tab range sometimes, or even
Oh
gold
yeah,
range sometimes.
yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Tom, he's asking about horseshoes can be dated. Yeah, you probably can. It's just I'm not a horseshoe expert, so that we have several people asking stuff like that. Guys, we'll cover some of that in some of the future live streams. We're not experts at everything. I like to think I know a lot about metal detectors, but you know, as far as identifying, we know a lot about Civil War relics and metal detectors.
Well, and I know
See,
where to go at. There's
yeah,
plenty of Facebook groups that you can go and ask for assistance on that, and there's some experts out there that hang out in those groups that
oh yeah,
you kind of have to figure out. You kind of figure out who you got to figure out who to pick through, and think this guy's just saying whatever he's thinking, and
yeah.
then the people that actually know what they're talking about. So
Yeah, Michael, we kind of covered that. There's no Michael Johnson's wanting to know the best entry level detector, and again, that is very subjective. It's very much um, dependent on where you are, what you're looking for, and your budget. There is no one perfect machine for everything. I do my personal opinion now. This is my personal opinion. I think the MindLab Vanquish 440 or 540, in my personal opinion, is probably the best detector at the lowest price for
at the
pretty much
moment,
everything. Yeah. It now
yeah.
the coil is waterproof. The rest of the detector is not. So, but again, most entry level people do not need waterproof machines. They never get in the water with them. So,
Now,
and again,
if you're an entry level detectorist and you buy
mhm.
a machine and get in the creek, you'll probably put it in the closet and never use it again. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted my detector around a tree or two trying to detect in the creek, and
Oh,
I'm
I know.
experienced
Oh, I know.
now.
Yeah. And I've done this 30 years. I started out in the early 90s, and even through my career when I was in law enforcement, I did it. And of course, after I got out of law enforcement, I did a whole lot more because I had more time on my hands. But yeah, I still don't like hunting the water. I do when I have to, but it can be frustrating. That's why I usually recommend most people entry level. Yeah, get you a waterproof detector. They're nice because if it rains, nothing to worry about. If you're at the edge of a creek and it rolls in, no problem. I do recommend somebody beach hunting usually have a multi-frequency detector and a waterproof detector. Now, if
Yeah, because
that is the
yeah,
one exception, if you are a beach hunter, you should
yeah,
get a waterproof detector and a multi-frequency detector.
because
Uh,
here's the thing, you know, I'm not a beach detectorist,
mm-hmm.
but most of the good stuff is found about waist deep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on the sand.
Yeah.
It's waist deep along the surf line. So
Yeah, and there's a reason for that because when people come out of the water, their fingers get cold and it causes them to shrink and those rings come off. So in that need of waist deep water is where most everybody is, in which you can use your detector and never get the display and everything wet. But
it's
you know
tough
as
though.
well as I do, you are
It's
rolling the
tough.
dice. It's a matter of time before you drop that detector, and if it's
Yeah,
not waterproof,
it's
it's done.
yeah,
It
it's
is
tough.
done.
If I'm near the water, I'm getting waterproof.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Brian Stewart. Of course, we're not going to go into a lot of these today, but entry level detectorists do ask this question a lot, so we'll go ahead and cover it. It again, it depends on what you're looking for, Brian. If you're looking for Civil War relics, look at the ORs, the official records. The University of Ohio has those online. They're very searchable and very good. You used to have to buy thousands of dollars of books to get that. Now it's available for free. Old maps, great resource. If you'll look in our videos, you'll see where we actually recorded a video showing how to use old maps and even use it with modern GPS, so you could walk right to the home. So there, research wise is key. Sometimes we go out and just get lucky. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you've got woods behind your house, go out because you never know what was there 100 or 150 years ago. It could have been anything. So that's one of the things. There's no right answer on that, but research is key because if no matter what detector you buy, Scott, if it's not there, it's not there. I don't care if you got a $3,000 or $4,000 detector; it's just not going to be there. It's got to be there first. So let's see. Let's see if there's any more questions, guys. You got any more questions? If not, if we've wrapped everything up, we'll start wrapping up here in a few minutes. But just looking to see if I've missed any questions here. John Brantley is wanting to know if there's a future of us doing podcast again. Scott, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
I enjoyed doing the podcast, but it's tough to tie up a specific night for a specific period of time because it kind of locks it down. Your family can't do it. So what we were thinking is we'll start doing these videos, and that way we can be fluid. What's that?
Impromptu.
Yeah, well, not entirely impromptu. We'll give you a day or two notice about whenever we're going to do one, and we'll maybe start doing them a little bit more frequently. And maybe, we'll figure out how to get some guests on here or something. I don't know, Heath. We can see what we can do.
Yeah. We'll do that. And like I say, we really enjoyed doing the podcast. We had a lot of fun. And a lot of people's like, man, where do these guys come from? Because we had such a following. But we did a really popular podcast. Unfortunately, Spreaker deleted most of all of our old podcasts. I am going to do a member section for Facebook for our paid supporters that would get access to the archives down the road. And it's real cheap, few bucks a month. And that's just, that helps keep, because like this software cost us a lot of money a month to be able to even do these live casts. But we are going to put those old podcasts back up, and we are going to continue doing some of these type things. We got another question. I scrolled back up and I'd missed a lot of questions, guys, because it's hard to kind of do this and read all the questions. Jack Pratt is asking if we recommend running an all metal mode or running discrimination up, or just use use ferrous or non-ferrous mode. So it depends on your detector. Some detectors don't have a true all metal mode. True all metal modes are basically no discrimination, and they're just reporting everything exactly as comes through the coil. That is good, especially if you are looking for extremely small objects like earring backs, something like that, gold nuggets, or something really deep like shells or something like that. Most entry level people, that's going to be a little bit much for it. For an entry level person, I usually don't recommend that, at least till you get some time, or if you just got a site where you're not finding anything and you just want to be double sure there's nothing there. Most people will run discrimination mode to some degree. Now, you will, as we talked about earlier, you will give up some depth by using discrimination mode. Even if you're not using any discrimination, it's still not as effective as a true all metal mode. And I hope that answers your question. On detectors that have a gold mode, those are usually true all metal modes. So, getting in some technical stuff, these guys are wanting to get into the mid range and advanced stuff before you know it. So, and we may do that. I don't know, guys. Let us know in the comments if you want to see an advanced section, or an intermediate and advanced type of detector series. I don't know if y'all want to see that. We may look at doing some stuff like that. Scott, you got anything else, buddy?
I don't, except for my mask here. I'm going to get you one of these, Heath.
Oh yeah, one of the Bucky's mask.
Yeah. You might have seen this in the Nugget Noggins. He stopped at this Bucky's actually that I got this from.
Hey,
They
Phil.
went Facebook Live with that.
Yeah, Phil Morris said he's checking in late, guys. Don't worry. The good thing about these live casts, even if you miss stuff, you can go back and watch, and we'll go over all that information again for you. And as always, if you guys have questions on detectors, though, even if it's something we maybe forgot to mention or whatnot, down below, I think you guys can see that. If y'all can see that phone number in the on the screen, let me know. It's 256-284-2247. That's my office line. It does ring over to my cell. So if I don't answer, just leave me a message. I will call you back. And if you buy from us, we will give you free phone support. That's something you can't get on Amazon. If you have a question, we do ask you that you try to read the manual. I mean, don't ask me to read the manual for you, but if you've got a question though that you really need some help with, don't understand, call me. That's what we're here for. Glad to help you guys out. Let's see. I'm just reading if there's any more that we missed. Da, da, da. See, Terry's wanting to know. Look at some of the detectors you offer. Yeah, so I work for Treasure Mountain Metal Detectors. I am not the owner. I am the sales director there. So if you guys want to go over there, you can look at treasuremtndetectors.com and check that out. See anything that we offer. But please, let me. Because of advertising restrictions, I can't say certain things. Call me. You will be happy that you did. Call me, and we can talk you through getting the right detector for you, because it is very much something that needs to be customized for your individual needs and what you're doing. I can't stress that enough. And two, if there's any coupons or free shipping and cool stuff like that, sometimes we can do some cool stuff for you for our people that watch the History Seekers. We really appreciate y'all. So, Scott, if there's nothing else, I guess we can wrap this thing up. If nobody else has any more
Are we going
questions.
metal detecting tomorrow, Heath?
Uh, yeah. I think. Well, we are planning on. Oh, and we got that one that we were waiting on.
Ah,
The Andrew Jackson site. If you guys haven't seen those
excellent.
videos, check them out. While we were doing this live stream, our property owner sent a message back and said, "Sure, come on out." So,
Breaking news. Okay,
breaking
good
news.
news.
You
Good
heard it
news.
here first. We're going to go out to that Andrew Jackson site and see if we can find
If
stuff.
if any of y'all have not watched
Mm-hmm.
the Detectorists,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is a British produced show, it deals a lot with relationships and stuff like that. But the two guys, go out and metal detect. That's what they do. It's a fantastic show, and my wife and I just watched it. She even liked it, and she's not a detectorist,
Mm-hmm.
and it even got her interested in going out, Heath. Once she's done with what she's got going on right now, she
Yeah.
said she might come out with us. But
Good. Good.
it kind of inspired me to get back out and try some of these. I mean, we've been to that site before, and we some days we don't find much, some days we find something good.
Yeah.
I was like, we need to go back out there and try that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
So
good site.
I'm glad we did. Yeah,
Anytime that you can walk on land where Andrew Jackson, which he wasn't technically there at that particular one, but he had sent his forces there. He was a few miles away. But Davy
I
Crockett,
know two people who were there,
yeah, yeah.
David Crockett
Somebody
and Sam
argued that,
Houston.
yeah, somebody argued that Sam Houston wasn't at that battle. And I don't know. We're going to have to research it. I know he was in the area.
Well, I
So,
know for certain David Crockett was because there's a
yeah,
famous quote about it. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what kind of started his fight with Andrew Jackson, was that battle. So,
Right.
hey, Brian Stewart, catch a few more quick questions before we get out of here. Brian Stewart said that he made the mistake of buying on Amazon, and he's going to be reaching out to us. So, Brian, we really appreciate that. And again, if you call this number down here, that 256-284-2247, I will talk to you. If you call Amazon asking for questions about your detector that you bought, they're probably not going to be able to help you. So that definitely. Oh, there's some more about bug spray, Scott. Don't use the good quality bug spray on around your detector. You'll melt it.
Don't do that, but for God's sakes, use bug spray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So coat it
Yeah.
around your around your jeans and boots and your waistline and your sleeves and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't go out in the woods without it. That's for sure. But
If
yeah,
you're
it will melt plastic.
if you're using the 100% DEET, we can tell you with certainty it will mess up a detector
And on some
if
of
you
my
spray it
videos,
directly on it.
yeah, in some of our videos, you may have noticed black stuff on my ears.
Yeah,
Because my headphones are like disintegrating because probably because of the bug spray because I put it
yeah,
all over my ears and head and everything else. So
yeah. Well, all right, guys. We are gonna wrap this up and get out of here. I think we're about an hour in, so we're gonna try to keep it reasonable when we do these 30 minutes to an hour. But guys, you don't know how much we appreciate you all being here and watching our videos and commenting on our videos. A lot of you share our videos, and we see that, and we read every single comment. I know you don't think we do. Sometimes we just like it. We can't respond to every one of them because I mean we really get thousands. I mean one of our videos got 800 and something thousand views now. So I would love to respond to everybody, but we will do our best. So
Keith reads those things at 3 o'clock in the morning
yes, I do.
while I'm sleeping.
Yes, I do. I read every single comment, and I do my best to respond to most of them. So, but again, we appreciate all you. If you're not a supporter of the channel, we've got some options. It's a few bucks a month. Again, and it shows that you are a supporter whenever you comment. If you want to do that, like I say, it helps us keep our channel online. This software is like what 30-40 bucks a month, I think, just to do these live casts and do the split screen and all the cool stuff. But it helps us keep online, and we really appreciate it. So, all right, guys. Well, we'll see you on the next podcast or the next live stream, I should say. Let us know if you have any kind of ideas for them, and we may use it. We may have a live stream about it. So, all right, guys. We will see you guys later.
Yep. See you next time.